I had no idea why I was telling people these lies. Maybe it was for attention. Maybe it was for my own entertainment. Or maybe, just maybe, I was a sociopath. I had always been this perfect child growing up. I was smart, I was healthy, I was happy, and I had a loving family. And I had what seemed to be a perfect life. Sure, there were a few hiccups to do with my mental health along the way. I would say that I had a childhood that some people could only dream of. But I lie. A lot. Some small, some large. To give you an idea of how bad my lying is, I found myself fibbing about some things in the story as I was writing it, although I have since gone back to change them. Looking back now, I can see that my problem has been with me from the beginning, even though I didn't think much of it. The lies started small. I would tell people that I had another friend in another school, or I wasn't feeling well and wanted to stay home, or I had a couple dollars more than I really did. But soon, these lies began to morph into larger ones. Still harmless, but large. Lies like, I have magical powers, or I live in a big house with a maid that does my laundry, or I'm descended from royalty. Now, as I was about 11 years old, these lies were never questioned. Thus, I would get more attention from my peers, so I figured, what's the harm in telling a few lies? One day, I didn't want to go to school, and when my parents asked me why, I lied and said that a kid had been badly bullying me and hitting me and calling me names all the time. Of course, my parents were horrified and held me close with a promise that they would deal with the bully if I just told them who it was. I freaked out because I didn't want to get in trouble for lying, so I just told them the first name that came to my head, Ellie. Immediately, they asked me to show them where she had been hitting me, and I remember that I walked into a table a couple of days before and got a pretty bad bruise from it. So I rolled up a little bit of my clothing and exposed the purple bruise. My parents looked devastated. Through the tears appearing in my mom's eyes, she looked at me and said, I promise that you will never have to deal with this again. A couple of minutes later, my mom had rung the school to set up a meeting with the principal. While I stayed at home, my mother went to the principal and told him my lie. Ellie got suspended. Of course, I felt bad. I didn't mean for this to go so far, but something inside me convinced me that the bullying actually had happened and that she deserved it. Everyone believed my story, and soon I began to as well. My lying continued all the way through the rest of primary school. And before I knew it, on the first day of high school, the first person I had met was told their first lie about me. The lies went from my family has a little less money than average to I only got into school because of a scholarship, became lies about my mental health and previous primary school experiences. I convinced people that I had literally no friends from grade 2 to grade 5, and so I had spiraled into this deep depression that almost caused me to end my life. I had no idea why I was telling people these lies. Maybe it was for attention, maybe it was for my own entertainment, or maybe, just maybe, I was a sociopath. It all made sense. My first kiss felt like nothing. I had no reason to feel bad for people whose lives I had greatly impacted because of my lies. And honestly, I felt like I was better than everyone else. This thought broke me. So I decided that if I couldn't stop it, I would just become it. So that is what I did. And I started to do reckless things. I created a fake Instagram account where I looked for ways to feel loved. People had catcalled me in the past, and it gave me some comfort that someone found me attractive. And so before I knew it, I began sending inappropriate things to complete strangers on the internet. I still craved for more. I wanted more attention. I wanted stronger reactions, so I moved on to my personal account and messaged the first boy that came to mind. We started talking, and I was getting the attention that I wanted, so I started saying some things and lying about others so that I could. And before I knew it, I was sending more photos. He screenshotted some to keep for himself, and even at one point asked if we can meet up. I said no, but the question was already out there. And I'm not really sure why, but it made me mad. I cannot stress enough how damaging this was to me. I'd got from lying about horrible depression that plagued me to living with it daily. One day, my actions hit me like a truck. They hit me so hard that I even considered taking my life. In a desperate attempt to fix my wrongs, I wrote down all of the inappropriate things that I had done within the last couple of months in my diary and put it away. Instantaneously, I felt 1,000,000 bricks being lifted off my shoulders. A couple of months later, my mom and I were cleaning out my room, and I decided that I needed a break to grab a glass of water. "I'm a little thirsty, so I'm gonna get a glass of water, okay?" I asked. My mom nodded with a smile, so I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself the ice-cold water. I quickly swallowed and turned back to my room. When I walked in, my heart stopped. There, on my bed, was the diary, open to a page that I knew too well. My mom stared at me, tears pouring down her face. This isn't true, but she knew it was. The horrified expression that enveloped her face made me cry with such power that I thought that I could never stop. "How?" A broken whisper asked from someplace outside of myself. And before I knew it, a new lie formed on my lips, throbbing and urging itself to become truth. I knew I would get away with the lie. Her perfect little daughter could do no wrong, but I didn't want to. For the first time in my life, I just wanted to be honest. I wanted to tell her everything, but it was too late. The lie came tumbling out of my mouth like water down a running river. "A boy in my class pressured me to send him photos and then blackmailed me," I lied in a rush. I knew the truth was that it was my own fault, and I wanted to take it back instantly, but the lie kept going. "He told people that it was the other way around, and now people hate me, and I don't have any friends anymore because they all believe him. The perfect Christian boy, and not some girl whose family lives in a suburb with a bad reputation for things like this." I couldn't believe what I was telling my mom. The lie came so easily that I couldn't help but notice my lie was getting too big. That night, I laid in my bed, unable to sleep. I remember that I had perfect friends, and because of this, my lie wasn't believable. So the next day, I went to school and broke up with my friends so that the lie could be believed. My parents told the school about the issue with the boy, and during second period, we were both summoned to the principal's office. Our parents and a police officer waiting for us. It was then that I found out he had really done this before. His parents begged for the charges to be dropped, claiming that he was a good kid and that there must have been some mistake. But the police officer just looked at her and shook her head. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was ruining this boy's life. A young, stupid girl was about to end this boy's future in seconds. So I did the thing that I knew best. It was a bikini! All of the eyes in the room turned to me. His eyes found mine, and for the first time, I saw him as he was. A scared teenage boy who knew that I could drastically affect his life with a single word. The anger that I once felt towards him vanished. "I'm sorry, what was that?" the police officer questioned. I took a deep breath and spoke again. "I don't know how it came across like that. I am truly sorry, but I didn't send him anything inappropriate. I sent him a picture of my new bikini," I pleaded. The police officer's gaze drilled into my soul. I knew she was trying to decipher if I was trying to change my story. Then why was it such a big issue that it was shared around? I wasn't certain that the lie I had just delivered would work, but the single question prompted me to one of the most honest lies that I have ever produced. I've always been really self-conscious of my body, and so when I heard that he wasn't the only one to see it, I freaked out because he broke my trust and I didn't know who else had seen it. I couldn't look at him. I didn't know if he was as good of a liar as I was, and if I looked up to his face to find a confused expression, I knew it would be game over. The voice broke through the silence in a wave. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you felt so unsure about your body. If I knew, I wouldn't have done anything with it. I'm sorry. I found his gaze and together we finished the lie. I forgive you. I'm sorry for wasting your time, officer. I thought what happened was clear from the beginning. The officer slowly turned her gaze to my partner and sighed. Well, just be careful next time. I think we're done here. You two should head back to class. And with a single movement, both of us were on our way. Thank you, his voice said gently. I looked at him and I knew that I had finally done the right thing. Don't thank me, just forgive me. And with a knowing glance, he nodded. You would think that after something like that I would stop lying, but if I'm being honest, I can't think of a single day in the last 8 years that I have said less than 10 lies throughout the day. And I really wish I could say that since that incident, my lies have at least shrunk. But they truly haven't. I still lie about even bigger things despite knowing that it's wrong. I can't even count how many relationships and nights of sleep that I've lost. But after all of these years, at least I have come to realize one thing. The reason that I had spent all of those nights anxiously staring at a dark ceiling instead of sleeping wasn't entirely because of the guilt that came with lying. It was also because I was trying to memorize each and every lie. A lie is a story. If you tell one person one story and another in a different version of it, not only do you have to remember the exact details of each story, but you also have to remember which story belongs to who. And if the story is ever proven wrong, you have to create a new lie to cover it. And so begins the pattern. Whoever's watching, you may not want to listen to me, a pathological liar. But please, if you can take just one thing away from my story, let it be this. Don't lie. It's never worth it. I've learned that it doesn't matter how pleased you may feel due to the success created by a lie. In the end, it's just that. A lie. A fictional story. No truer than a story about a talking penguin written by a child. And when you realize this, the feeling created would disappear, and you are left with the cold, hard truth. A truth that over time just becomes harder to bear. And suddenly, no longer feels like a success, but instead, a failure. Believe me, I'm a pathological liar. Or maybe I was a sociopath.